have some technical difficulties. I'm Shaun Savage, and this is TVLinux. Let me see if I can get the computer running. Nope. Okay. I'm sitting here playing Tux Racer, and we're going to start up on Tux Racer, but I guess it did not like it.
Try it again.
Oh, yes. Okay. So we're going to start with Tux Racer. See, there's Tux Racer. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Now we fade back and say, hello. Well, Jesse, that was an exciting start.
Our favorite intro is Tux Racer.
Yes, because it gets the show moving. You know, it's a penguin moving fast. Just like Linux, right?
Right.
So, hey, you got a new shirt on.
Oh, yeah. I got this new yellow crayon shirt from Kathy at Pacific Crest Embroidery. Pretty good job, huh?
Yeah. But I'm more yellow than you. I look more like a yellow crayon than you do. You look more like a, I call it olive drab green.
It's sage.
Crayon.
It's sage, Shaun.
It's sage, okay.
Not olive drab.
Okay. Well, we've got a good show for you tonight. We're starting off with the nerd news. We're going to go to the Mozilla Minute. And then we are going to go into our topic tonight. Mm-hmm. And so let's start off with the nerd news. Well, we've got something pretty interesting. You remember that we've been talking about Open Office versus Microsoft Office,
right.
The Open XML and the ODF. Well, now there's UFO.
UFO?
UFO. Okay.
Does that have something to do with Office file formats?
It's called Uniform Office Format. It is a Chinese format that is being suggested.
That's interesting.
Yeah. They back in 2006, they adopted it as a standard in China, you know, along with ODF.
Is it an open format that anyone can read?
According to what, yes. According to what it says is that it is an open format.
Okay. Well, that was the problem with previous Office formats, is that there were only certain software that could read or decode all of the features in the file, and that kind of tended to tie the document to that particular version of Office software.
And I remember when Microsoft, when they upgraded from Office 95 to Office 97.
And changed the file format?
And changed the file format and made it so that it was impossible to read or write the old format.
Why, if they did something like that, people would have to buy a whole new version of Office.
Imagine that. And talk about monopolies. Okay, so that's the first thing. The next one. First paper-based transistors.
Paper?
Paper-based transistors. What they are doing is that these new transistors offer the same level of performance as state-of-the-art oxide-based thin film transistors produced on glass or silicon. So pretty soon you can have a piece of paper that's a radio. You know, and now you don't need a tinfoil hat anymore. You could have a paper hat.
Well, I wonder how they did that, because if it's silicon-based, they have to go for very pure silicon in order to get the transistors to be very small. But paper, I don't tend to think of as a very pure substance.
Well, remember, this is thin film transistors, not etched transistors.
Oh, so they print them on top of
They
paper?
print them. They print them. They print the transistors.
So you could make a new computer by running it through a photocopier? Or?
No, but you need special printing process. In fact, on the screen, it shows you what the transistors look like. And if you want to really see something interesting, right there is what it looks like. That's that's a 5mm pencil. So that shows you a paper transistor.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was. That's why it's on the Nerd News.
Oh, yeah.
But what that does is that starts to open up the possibility of active electronic devices within wrapping.
So like the wrapping of a box.
The
for
wrapping of a
example.
box, or a package, they basically print transistors on it. So they don't need security buttons anymore. They could just have the transistors be the security device or the RFID. So anyway, it's a cool thing until it gets misused. Okay, here's something that I'm interested in. Okay. It's called Cherry Pal. It's a PC. Okay. That's what it looks like. That's a PC.
So to me, that looks about the size of a paperback book. Is that about right?
I figure it's probably
'Cause that looks like a network port on the back there.
yeah, that's a network port and two USB power. Looks like a keyboard and video. So I figure, yeah, about 6 inches.
Okay.
2 watts.
Oh, very energy saving.
2 watts. That's impressive. I mean, I would like to use this as my firewall. Right? It's made for a desktop, but if they threw another Ethernet port on it, I think it would be a great firewall.
Well, if it has USB ports.
Yeah, I could always add a USB Ethernet, and it would work.
Yep.
And they're thinking about selling it about $200. So now, talk about $200. Here is a web tablet. Also the same idea. Basically, they want to sell it for $200. They want to have Firefox and Skype running on it.
Your basic web applications.
Your basic web applications. Of course, it will run Linux. If at $200, if they put Windows on it, that's half the cost. So it'd have to be boosted up to $300.
Not to mention higher hardware requirements to run
Yes.
Windows.
So, and you can sort of see how thin it is. And what they're doing is they're just basically taking ideas and, having people help them. And, since I've came up with a great stack, which uses frame buffer, GTK, then Firefox on top. And it's and you use Firefox as your desktop.
So like the netbooks that are
Like
getting popular now.
Yeah. And what that does is that gets rid of X Windows. So that makes a very, very light system.
Makes it faster, too.
Makes it much faster. Blazingly fast. And part of that is new mobile browsers bring real web to handhelds. There's Opera Mobile 5, there's Apple's iPhone, and mobile Firefox and Skyfire are expected later this year in beta. And what that does is that allows people to have browsers to search the web. Only problem is I can't see. If it's this small, I really can't see this stuff. So to me, it's the display that makes the device, not the smallness. Because I need something at least, I need something at least this big in order to be able to see it.
So if you could get your device smaller than your display, in other words, a device this big with a display that big.
Or what you
Instead
can,
of vice
what I was
versa.
thinking is you have a cylinder, and all you do is pull out your screen. They can
Cool.
not. They can not because of the new printable transistors.
Print them on a flexible surface.
Print them on a flexible surface. Pull it out. Be able to have it touch sensitive, so you can do all your stuff. And when you're done, it goes back in. So now you have just a roll. Hey, good idea, huh?
Yeah, and if you had a flexible display, you could just mount it on your shirt, right? And you could display whatever message you want, kind of like a Teletubby.
Yeah. That's a good one. Okay. So what else are we doing? Okay. Oh, yes, the Olympic Games. This winter I was in Beijing, and when I was flying into it, what I did is I saw sort of this grayish-brown cloud cover. And, we sort of started going into it. And I mean, it was thick. And the minute we went into it, my nose started burning, my eyes started burning. I mean, it's bad. The pollution in Beijing is really, really bad. And if we look right here, okay, this is the Olympic Stadium. You can hardly see it, and we're not that far away. So, and already what they've done is they've cut down cars. Drivers of cars can only drive every other day.
I heard that was odd even based on
Odd
their
even
license
license
plates.
plate, yeah. But I have a feeling they're going to have to get a lot more serious than that. I've also heard that they've cut off all factories to the west of them so that the factories don't put out pollution that comes over Beijing.
Do they consistently have wind blowing from that direction?
Yes, yes. So, and that's going to be the greatest challenge. Everything else they can throw money at, but this is a natural thing, and they're not going to be able to throw money at it. They have to do, it's there. They have to do.
The smog.
The smog is just there.
But with a authoritarian government, you can just order factories to be shut down.
Yeah, but I don't think that will be enough. Okay. Oh, here's another one. The mouse is headed for extinction with now new touchpads and face recognition and things like that.
Touch-sensitive screens.
Touch-sensitive screens. They think the mouse is going to go away. But that's sort of like saying DVDs are going to go away because of Blu-ray and HD DVD. I don't think so. I think the mouse is going to stay with us for a really long time. Just in legacy, applications, things like just legacy computers.
Well, we're going to have all these handheld computers, and I don't have another hand free to operate the mouse, so I'll have to touch the screen of the handheld device or use a jog wheel or something like that.
But how many people are going, we're talking $600 for a handheld device. And I can't see them, so, I'm not going to be buying one soon.
Well, Shaun, when they get those auto-adjustable glasses so you can dial one of your eyeglass lenses to view that tiny screen, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay. An aide to Gordon Brown was a victim of a honey trap operation by Chinese intelligence agency. A senior aide who was on the trip with the prime minister had his phone stolen after being picked up by a Chinese woman who approached him in a Shanghai hotel disco. Basically, the aide agreed to return to his hotel with the woman, and the next morning, the BlackBerry was gone. I mean, to me, how many spy movies do you hear with that happening?
Most of them, actually.
A beautiful woman comes and does something, right?
Gets friendly with
Yeah.
with the
I guess you don't get
bureaucrat or the
anything for free.
technocrat, and,
Okay. To me, that's,
yeah, let that be a warning to us, right?
yes, be good. Okay. here's an interesting thing. You know how TVLinux has always been yeah, we're on. How TVLinux has always been trying to, let's see, has always been trying to get free open source voting
Right.
and claiming how the elections have problems. Well, basically, a GOP cybersecurity expert suggests Diebold tampered with the 2002 Florida election. You know, what they've done is they have found out that the hashes, the things that make sure that everything is valid, are invalid. So this is a very smoking gun, so to speak.
So either the data was tampered with, which caused the hashes to be incorrect,
Right.
or the algorithm which created the hashes might be faulty.
Right. But what happened is that a Diebold person came shortly before the election, like the day before, and worked on it.
Well, you would think that that would happen. I mean,
So,
things need to be worked on, and often at the last minute. So we don't know, but without an open source
voting
voting
system.
system,
Yeah.
how do you know?
How do you know? Yeah. And the last one, you talk about Stephen Hawking. Do you know who Stephen Hawking is?
He's the physicist.
He's the physicist who has MS, I think. Yet he's, super smart, has written books, has come up with many astronomical theories and quantum theories. Well, he's thinking about moving to Canada because the U.S. just doesn't have the money to support his research.
Is he in the U.S. now?
He's in the U.S. now. He's at the University of Cambridge, and because the current administration is starving sciences, people like Stephen Hawking are thinking about leaving the country in order to be able to do the research they really want to do.
So he's looking for a more supportive, freer environment?
Yeah, they're willing to spend $40 million with him.
Oh, well, if I would go to Canada too for $40 million.
So anyway, to me, this is sort of a commentary on the state of the U.S. right now, of that
Lack of support for
support for the
scientific
Yeah.
research.
Okay, well, that was the nerd news. Remember, we are a live call-in show. You can ask about anything within the call-in show, or the nerd news. We've got a lot of interesting things here. So, Jesse, what do you have tonight?
We're going to be installing a new or a different version of Linux on my computer live on the show tonight. So we're going to take a chance and try to defeat or get around Murphy's Law that things will go wrong at the worst possible moment. But before we do that, I'd just like to show this one news article that I have found. I was looking on Linux.com, which I found to be a great source of information about Linux. In fact, Shaun, if you could fade in our computer there. Here's the website here, Linux.com. Here's a title, a link, Learn About Linux, Download Linux, Get Linux Help. So it's a great resource for someone starting out in Linux or looking for news about Linux. You can find documentation on Linux here on the left-hand side, learn about various Linux distributions. There's a news section here, and reviews of various Linux operating systems and events happening in software. But I happen to be browsing through here today, and look at this article I found. Let me find it here. I thought you'd be amused. It says, Ubuntu hits new high in Linux boredom.
Oh, really?
So, And so this writer, Rob Limo Miller, says that his friend with Windows XP on his desktop was once again moaning about the endless problems with XP. And then they installed Ubuntu 7.04 on it. The problems went away, and it's been running so well, he just doesn't think about it anymore. So if you want to think about your computer and about how exciting it is, then live in the Windows world, where something exciting happens virtually every day. Something new goes wrong, or computer crashes, or whatever. But if you want to just use a computer and not think about computers, just have it be a working appliance, use Ubuntu.
Well, I just started a new job, and I had to start using Windows. This is terrible.
That must have been shocking.
So what happened is I installed Windows, okay? And I did it through VMware. And it was fairly, acceptable. The mouse moved, things started working okay. Okay. Then I said, okay, what else do I have to do? Well, I have to install Office. So I installed Office. Well, it got a little slower, but not much. Still pretty good. Well, then I got to do a virus protection. Okay, then things started to really slow down. Then I had to do a firewall. Oh my God, now it crawls. And I am not doing anything special. I've got a standard base Windows
XP
installation
system
with Office, firewall, and virus protection. That's it. And it is so dog slow. I can't believe it.
You probably didn't allocate enough memory to that virtual machine.
1 gig?
Oh, that ought to do it. That ought to be enough.
My Linux runs in half that.
And I'll be demonstrating even smaller Linux operating systems that can run on even simpler and less powerful machines than that and run very well.
Did you know that probably the smallest Linux that you can run probably has, I figure, can run in 4 meg?
I believe you showed that on our show once. It was a little Linux system about the size of 2 Ethernet connectors.
Yes. 4 meg, and it was running Linux.
Right. I was looking through Linux distributions today and found one that's about 24 megs. It has a GUI interface, runs web browsers and all that.
Yeah, 24, or we'll say 32, because that's the next meg, is probably the smallest graphical one you can do.
Now, Shaun, you mentioned VMware, and
Yes.
that's a virtual machine software that's actually owned by Microsoft, I believe.
It is? Microsoft?
Is it?
No, it's
No,
owned,
they own the other one.
they own the other one.
Whose name I forget.
There's 3 of them out there. There's Zen, there's Microsoft's virtualization, and then there's VMware.
And there's another one which I hope to demonstrate in a future show, virtual machine or something like that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, so, but anyway, VMware is a good thing to use when running the Windows operating system. With VMware, you set aside a certain amount of hard drive and a certain amount of memory for installing an operating system, and you can have multiple of these on a particular computer.
And
So
when
you
it
can
crashes,
actually-
you can bring it back up from original state.
Right. So when you install Windows, what you do is you take a snapshot of everything that was working and you put it on the hard drive, and then you can go tinker with it or just use it normally. And when things go wrong, you just say, oh, bring it back to the way it was, and you get your machine totally back the way it was in seconds, as opposed to having to do a buggy, reinstall or Windows system restore, which may or may not work.
Oh.
So developers really like VMware. It really helps them overcome, surprises and unexpected events.
The problems of Windows.
So we were, for our segment today, we're going to be looking at Puppy Linux, and I've got it on the screen now. Shaun, if you'll do the honors, we'll show our audience Doesn't that look pretty? I think that's just beautiful. That's the desktop background. And of course, there's more to having a beautiful operating system than just the desktop background. But this is just giving me joy to look at this tranquil scene here. What we see up in the upper left-hand corner here is a bunch of icons. So most of the applications that you're going to want to use on a daily basis are just one click away. Over on the right-hand side, we have trash. We have a file zipper, a screen locker. I don't know if you can see this at home. In the lower right-hand corner, we have a CPU graph. I like that because I'm kind of techie. Something tells me how much memory I have free, how strong my battery charge is, 100%, looking good. And in the lower left-hand corner, we've got a puppy menu. And so we can find our favorite applications in here.
And 2 desktops.
Oh, yes, I should point that out. I'm not sure if you can see down here in the very lower left-hand corner, this box shows my current desktop, and I can have an entirely new desktop. So
Did you see it change?
So let me just start the web browser. I'm just going to do a left click on Browse here. And in less than 3 seconds, we've got SeaMonkey up. So let me just demonstrate that that's really working. I'll go to Google here. And sure enough, got a nice fast link here at TVCTV. Thank you, Comcast. And we are on the web. So let me just shrink that down a little bit. And now let me click on this other desktop. And it's gone. It's not that it's minimized. It's on my other desktop, which we don't see. And I can just click here and bring it back.
And what I'm finding is when I'm using Windows, you know, IE, and all the things fill up the whole screen. Mm-hmm. And when I want to click something on the desktop, I can't do anything.
You can't find it.
I can't find the desktop. You know, it's not down in the bar. So I would love to see desktops.
Virtual desktops.
Virtual desktops. Because that's, I'm so used to it. Because that's the way it's so easy to work. You know, I can have 3 different things going on at once. And I can look at either one of them. I can look at all of them.
Right.
But under Windows, you've got that single thing. You've got to close everything down or minimize or, you know, do some really funky stuff.
In the Linux, developers like virtual desktops because in one desktop they might have their email program running and their web browser running, and then they've got all the windows arranged that they want. In another desktop, they might have their application development running.
Right.
So that there are developers and their integrated development environments, etc. And then, of course, the phone rings, and you don't want to change all your windows in order to do something new. So they just click on another virtual desktop and do whatever they want. And then when they're done, they can pop back to one of the other desktops, and everything is left just the way they left it.
Yeah, that's that's the neat thing about Linux is that it is, you know, very user friendly. Mm-hmm. You know, it gives you power over your computer.
Mm-hmm. And many years and many very intelligent minds have gone into coming up with lots of possibilities for how people can interact with their machines. So that was just what I wanted to demonstrate today is actually installing Puppy Linux. And sometimes on the show we've tried to install operating systems, and if we don't start soon enough, we don't get done. So I better start soon.
Okay.
But just to reemphasize, here's some of the features that we have here. We have a text editor, starts up in less than 2 seconds. You know, the usual text editing functions that you're familiar with. Close without saving. We have an HTML editor, a WYSIWYG HTML editor.
What is it?
This is SeaMonkey is actually the
the combined.
It's like Mozilla Firefox and the calendar.
Sunbird and Thunderbird all together.
Right. Many people remember Netscape had all these features built into it, and Mozilla started parceling them out into separate components. But they still kept one project with them all together, and that is now the SeaMonkey project that has all these components put together. So it has a web browser, has the HTML editor, so you can develop your own web pages, etc. Don't save. Okay. We have a chat program. Oh, here's a cute little one. This is, oh, I have to remember to single click in this implementation. This is Inkscape Lite, which is a vector drawing program, so I can make a rectangle here. And
Inkscape is a good program.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
if you're doing any graphics, it is fabulous because it gives you graphic control over the widgets. You know,
And I can make Bezier curves here on the screen. Might be hard to see at home. And so the average viewer might be looking at that and says, well, how is that different than any other paint program? Well, this isn't actually so much a paint program as it's an object-oriented, vector-oriented drawing program. And I can demonstrate that, I believe. Let me see if I can.
on a paint program, everything you draw turns into a pixel.
Right,
What this does is this has a mathematical formula that defines what you see.
right.
And this means you can scale it to 1,000,000 times and it's still high resolution.
Right, so even this ellipse here, I can scale it if I want to. It's not actually ink on a piece of paper, it's an object that can be scaled. Now, this is actually kind of cool. Let me see if I can do this again. I did this earlier today. There it is. We can demonstrate that that's not just a rectangle by grabbing these rotator bars, so we can turn it like an object as opposed to, you wouldn't be able to do that with ink on the paper. So
That
and
is
stretch it in different ways.
and if you zoom in and keep on zooming in, it will always stay sharp.
Right,
While on a paint program, you'll start to pixelate, which means you'll start to see the individual pixels.
right. So let me see if I can zoom in on that line there. We're zooming in successively on this line, and it's still very clear. It's not getting all jaggedy like a paint program would.
Right, and that's one of the biggest things. That's why it's very good that you can use that for large posters. You know, because it will scale very well.
Right. It's high quality even at large sizes. Let's see, what else do I want to demonstrate here? Only that things pop open very quickly. It's a very efficient implementation of an operating system. So I'm just going to reboot my computer now. And I was running Puppy Linux there, and it's shutting down. And what I have is the Puppy Linux CD loaded in the CD drive here on my laptop. And it's shut down nice and quickly too, much quicker than larger operating systems do.
Even mine doesn't shut down that fast.
So here's the Puppy Linux. It's offering to give me these other options, but in 5 seconds it just goes ahead and does the default boot, and it's well tested. And on this laptop and every one that I've tried today, it just the defaults are just what you want. And so what it's looking for is it didn't find Puppy already on my system, so it's going to load it off my CD now. It actually copies the Puppy into my memory of my computer because I have 512 megs here. But it also runs on systems with 128 megs. I tried that today. It runs just fine. So let me see if I can fix my video here. A little bit of problem with my laptop. One more maybe. Here we go. There it is. It just boots that quickly, and we're going to install it onto hard drive. And so I looked at this box up here. It says install, but that's installing for installing programs. So I'm going to go back down to the Puppy menu, and I'm going to go to Setup, and I'm going to go to the Puppy Universal Installer. Now, Puppy Linux has done more work, I think, than any other distribution of being able to install on various devices. On this list here, we see a USB flash drive. So you can install to a Linux on a USB flash drive, a USB hard drive, a USB compact flash drive that you will later move to an IDE internal adapter.
Oh. Now that would be good for embedded devices.
Exactly. Some of the new small laptops that they are creating don't have a rotating hard drive in them. They have a compact flash or flash drive anyway.
SD.
Right. You can install onto an internal USB flash drive, an internal IDE flash drive, for example, a compact flash drive that you've installed inside your computer. You can install to an internal zip drive or an LS120, in case anyone remembers what those are. You can install to an internal hard drive, IDE or SATA. You can install to an actual SCSI hard drive, or you can install to a CD drive, of all things.
CD drive?
CD drive.
Now that sounds interesting.
I suspect it might be a CD read-write, but I wouldn't put it beyond them to have actually made it so you can install onto a write-once media.
And have it be a live CD.
Right.
Okay.
So just a whole long list of possibilities for where you want to install it. But I'm just going to choose a normal internal IDE drive on my computer. So I'll click OK there. And so it says, oh, well, which hard drive do you want? This one? Well, that's the only one I have in my computer, so I'll choose that. Let's see. It found out that I had 3 partitions on my hard drive, and I practiced with the middle one, which is actually a Windows FAT32 partition. So I'm going to choose that one. And it says, basically, gives me a
Is
whole
it fat
bunch.
because it's so bloated?
I believe FAT stands for File Allocation Table or something
yeah.
unsexy like that. So as you see, there's plenty of explanation at every step. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. It's telling me that it's how big my partition is, making sure I really want to do that. It's telling me what files it's going to put there. So, I need to read this one. If you boot it from a live CD. Oh, so it's asking me where the files are. Okay, they're on the live CD. So it says, well, make sure your live CD is in the drive. And it says, where are you going to put it? And I'm going to, what was I going to call this one? Puppy Frugal. It's a type of installation that they use. So it's going to make a folder on my hard drive called Puppy 400-Frugal, and it's 400 because it's version 4.0.0. So
Okay.
that's what that means. And so I hear my CD drive spinning. It's copying files off the CD drive onto my laptop's hard drive. And this, I think, just takes like a minute or two because the Puppy Linux distribution is only about 85 megabytes in size. So it would fit on my CD maybe 8 or 9 times.
Okay. Wow. How many?
80 to
89?
80 to 85 megabytes.
Okay.
So clearly much smaller than any flash drive you could buy today. It's hard to find a flash drive that's smaller than 256 megs. Most of them are a gig or
Right.
2 gigs or 4 gigs. Okay, now it's asking me if I want to create a boot disk, and I'm saying no. And now it's giving me the instructions for setting up Puppy Frugal. And I'm going to take a chance that the installation that I did earlier today still works. But it's telling me what commands I need to add to my grub.
Okay, now
root
let's
file.
see. First of all, grub. The first one is a title.
Right.
Okay,
It's
the
gonna be
second
called
one
Puppy
is
Linux.
root no verify, which means don't check the root, just
Right.
use it.
And we see that it's HD 0,4, which is the corresponds to
Disk-
HDA 5.
Correct.
Right.
And the kernel is the Puppy 400 Frugal
Right,
VM Linux.
Remember, that's the directory that it said it was creating on that particular partition.
That's the boot directory. And it tells you the public and the directory, it says Puppy 400 Frugal.
Right.
Now, The big thing is the very bottom line,
Init
Right.
RD.
initial RAM disk, okay?
Right.
The initial RAM disk is a disk that is loaded. You see, it does not, when the kernel loads, it knows nothing about your hardware. Absolutely nothing. So what happens is that the initial RAM disk boots. And so now it has a file system that it's looking at. And it goes off and grabs the modules that match your hard drive. So it says, oh, he has a standard IDE hard drive, or he has a Adaptec SCSI drive controller. So it loads that Adaptec SCSI drive controller. Oh, he has an Intel USB. So it loads the Intel USB driver. So it loads all these drivers off the initial RAM disk. Then it boots into the disk, boots to the disk. And what that means is that if that disk code was not loaded in the initial RAM disk, it wouldn't be able to find the disk. So it would never be able to boot.
Okay, so this is, so it starts off with a very, very basic system.
And all
It adds in the components that it senses on your machine.
Right.
Okay.
It adds the components that makes it for your machine, then it boots into your machine for the final booting.
Okay.
So that's how Grub works.
Okay. So it gives me the commands that I need to add to an existing grub. And in my case, I actually do have grub loaded at the beginning of my disk. So I took these commands and I put them into grub ahead of time. Otherwise, it would take another 5 minutes to do these steps.
To cut and paste.
Right. Okay, so it says it's all done. So the next step would be to reboot. So I'm going to shut down and I'm going to reboot my computer. And when the computer shuts off, I'm going to pop the CD out of it so that we're not booting off the CD. Okay, it's also at this point saving my settings. Okay, so now I'm going to pop out the CD. Come on out, CD. There we go. Okay, so it won't be booting off the CD. And here's Grub. This is the bootloader that I've already had on my system. Normally I'm running Sam Linux on this system. I can also run Microsoft Windows, which is loaded here. And the last choice here is the one that I added earlier today for Puppy Linux Frugal. And so we'll see if the installation I did now matches these commands.
And what's interesting is Grub, this is Grub right now that you see.
Right.
The Grand Unified Bootloader.
Right.
So, and the neat thing about it is you can boot a lot of different operating systems with that.
Right. And if you had more operating systems, there would just be a longer list here. So let's go ahead and let that boot. I see on my screen here the top line, not sure if you can see it at home, said it was echoing the commands of Grub, looking on the fifth hard drive partition. Now it's looking to see if there are any existing settings, and I think there are not. So I think I'll have to do things like set up my network again, which will be instructive as well.
And as you can see, this is...
Now it's asking me if what kind of keyboard layout, US. Didn't take very long to boot up there the first time. It's looking to see if I have any serial devices out there, and I don't. And I know later on it will give me an opportunity. In fact, I think I have to go through it twice. It's asking me what do I want to use to run my graphical system, and I just choose the default. It's saying how big is my screen, and I happen to know it's 1024 by 768, so I'll take the 16 bits, so I take the default there. And here I need to press my CRT button.
Okay.
There we are. And now, if I remember correctly from when I did this, single click here. I need to remember to single click.
It's not Windows.
You wouldn't have to do this, but I was just curious as to whether or not it had figured out what my network device was. And it has, but it hasn't configured it. So I go over to Setup. I click Setup. I look down for Connect to the net by a network interface. Click that. It says, oh, I've found this F0 device on a PC MCIA card. And so I click on that one. I say, I want to use DHCP. It goes out to my router and asks for an address. It takes just a few seconds to do that. Please wait patiently. It says, got it. Do you want to save this? Yes. And so I'm done with that.
And as you can see, can we go look at that setup again?
The
setup.
Oh, the setup. Okay. Click Setup.
Okay. As you can see right there, okay, you can configure it for your country. You configure the startup. You can change the mouse and keyboard. You can set up the sound. You can set up the X video. You can connect modems, the network interface, and set up cups printing. That's setting up printers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can set up DVD readers, writers, and set up a firewall. So instead of having a control panel, this is what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
This does everything that you want it to do.
Right. Very, very simple to find what you need to do. So I'm just going to click on the browser here just to verify that we are back on the internet. And it takes about 2.5 seconds, and there we are. And now it doesn't remember because, like I say, this is a new installation. It doesn't remember where I've been before. So I'll just type in google.com, and it works. So it was just that quick to install Linux, configure it for my system, and I'm on the internet. And we did that all in about, I imagine, about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So as you can see, Linux, it has become very easy.
Very easy to use, and it's a very fast operating system. Just takes a couple seconds on this laptop, which is, as frequent viewers know, is maybe 5 or 6 years old. It's a 1 gigahertz machine.
You've had that from the beginning, haven't you?
From the beginning of the show, and even then it was
old.
Several years old, right?
That's amazing. That's amazing. So as you can see, there is so much that Linux will do for you. Thank you, Jesse. That was wonderful. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, for the Mozilla Minute, installing SeaMonkey.
Okay, great.
On Windows.
Okay, so as we just said, SeaMonkey is the combination web browser, HTML composer.
Okay, what is...
And mail client, I believe.
Yes. What it is, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, let's check that.
Okay.
See if I got that
SeaMonkey.
right.
Okay, download and releases. So what there is Windows, Mac, and Linux installs. Okay, there's also OS2, Solaris, Spark, Linux, Fedora, and GTK1. So, and those are just ones that people, because it's open source, people have donated those. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's what SeaMonkey is. And if you want to download it, you can see right here. You just click Windows Installer. It says Save File. And you'd be doing this under Windows. Because I don't have Windows.
On this
computer. I'm showing you how to do it. Because IE is terrible. IE is so bad. As a virus, as for security, governments say don't do it. I mean, it's miserable. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I would rather you use Windows if that's what you're comfortable with, but you have to use either Firefox or SeaMonkey, because anything else and you will have problems. So that's why I'm showing you on Windows.
So what website is that? It's cmonkey-project.org. But
Yes.
of course, we would just Google for CMonkey, and it would lead us there, I imagine, right?
Which is what I did.
Okay.
See, I Googled Sea Monkey,
Okay.
and it said the Sea Monkey project. And the features. Okay, there's a browser navigator with tabbed browsing. There's a pop-up blocker. There's an image manager. And it allows you to, if you have different types, go to that, execute a program of that type.
Okay. So by image manager, it lets you block images to remove offensive images or speed up the rendering of web pages.
Yeah. For mail, junk mail control. I use this great. I get very, very little spam.
Because you've set up filters or junk mail controls?
Right.
Or-
Well, first of all, I set up a spam filter on my mail server, which I use Postfix, and I put a spam assassin on it, and it blocks, and I put some strict things. So if someone comes and they don't have a return address or it's not reversed in, there's a whole bunch of things. I'm not even going to talk to you. For everyone that comes in, it does a DNS lookup to see if it's valid. Then, because I'm assuming that if someone is sending mail, there's at least semi-valid. Okay. Then what this does, I'll go back to here. So that's what I do. And the spam junk things, even if it gets through, it says, "Oh, this is junk," and throws it in the junk directory.
Okay.
So, okay, and this has multiple accounts, so you can have, I have one for TVLinux, savages.com, savages.net, Mozilla apps. I've got about 50 different domains, so I can have multiple accounts.
Okay.
Composer, so I can create HTML, and IRC.
Internet relay chat.
Yes, Chatzilla. So anyway, that's what you've got. That's what it makes it up. And what you can do is you can download it. Okay, here are the different downloads. You just download it. Once it's downloaded for Windows, you double click it. It says, "Do you want to install?" You say yes. It's done. And that's how easy it is. And it is easier to install Firefox or SeaMonkey than it is to fight all the viruses that you will get with IE.
I often use Firefox when I'm working on a Windows system that is too badly infested with viruses or spyware. I often use Firefox as a way to be able to get to the internet to get tools to clean up the computer.
Oh, excellent. So, and he's an expert. So he's an expert at cleaning up Windows, right?
Right.
So,
Experienced anyway.
so that basically says that there's an expert here that tells you,
You're better off with Firefox.
oh,
Is that your phone?
yes, this is Shaun. Oh, hello, Bill. How are you doing? Yeah. Oh boy, have I found I must admit, I finally started using Windows. It's terrible. I mean, after 10 years, I finally realized why I still realize I don't like it. First of all, Windows does not have multiple desktops. So I have to close things down and minimize and play a whole bunch of games if I want to do any work. Next, it becomes so slow. I installed Windows XP, I installed Office, I installed a virus checker, and I installed a firewall. After those 4 installs on a basic Windows XP install, the machine is practically unusable. Okay, so, I don't see how anyone ever uses it for anything. Yeah, I guess Intel, you really make Intel happy with this. Okay. Well, I got to go. The show's almost over. I've got about 3 more minutes left. Well, it was good talking to you. Have a good one. Bye-bye, Bill. That's my friend Bill. And I was telling him how much I really hate Windows. I mean, it's terrible. But anyway, that's what's going on. This is TVLinux. I want to thank you for watching. We've got about 2.5 minutes left. We talked about Puppy Linux and showed how fast
An old computer really can be.
Yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks.
That's right. We'd also like to thank Darkwing Productions for producing TVLinux basically through its entire existence, right?
Now, Darkwing Productions came on at about 30 to 50, something around that.
A very capable video.
Yeah. No, about 20, I think, 20 to 30.
Very capable production company.
Yes.
We'd like to thank Pacific Crest Embroidery, Kathy, for the wonderful job on putting the crayon on my polo shirt.
It looks very nice. It's a nice color, sage.
Thank you, Shaun. It's sage.
It's sage. Or at least that's what she told you, right? Okay. We want to thank Mozilla and all the Linux community. Remember, if you meet a beautiful woman, watch your BlackBerry. So, okay, I think that's about it.
Acho que não vou deixar você sair da minha vida. Sei que você